It's not like it's a big day. Okay, here we go. I don't know. Wow. All right. Okay. Day in history today. Not around here, but this is the real news at one. Yes, it is. Yep. Election day live. What's the turnout like? I don't know. I'll say, well, I'll save it. I'll save it, folks. Hey, couple of reminders. I don't know about Road Patrol tonight. I could go either way. Game time decision. Maybe we'll be live. I don't know. Undetermined. Possible. Possible. Not against it. Possible. Because I don't know. I don't know. We'll learn later on. Hey, couple of reminders now. Hold on. Remember, if you're looking for your dream kitchen, Dream Maker, they're going to be, if you're thinking new kitchen or bath, there's Danielle, Dream Maker. They are going to be at the home show coming up next weekend, 16th and 17th, the Rhode Island Convention Center. So look for their booth 210. I will be plugging it leading in to the weekend. New kitchen or bath, you're thinking of a Dream Maker, booth 210. And that is November 16th, 17th, the Rhode Island Home Show at the Convention Center. I can tell you that the missing person, the videos that we've put out, part 4 now, it's generating a lot of leads and a lot of talk. And we'll see as it plays out. We'll do more. I'm like everyone else. Listen, I'm anxious to see how the election is going to play out. That's going to determine a lot. And we're going to be live in 1 minute. So now, if you're looking out at your yard or your property, your business, and you have a lot of leaves, what's this? You need them picked up. JD Lawn Care, 401-441-0154. JD's Lawn Care Tree Service, 401-441-0154. JD's Lawn Care. And then also, don't forget, get that driveway paved. Letter J Perry Paving. We're waiting for our cue. We're going to be live in less than a minute. 401-732-1730. Letter J Perry Paving. All right, let's wait. We're going to be live on the radio in just a moment. Then all of our platforms on this election day, 2024. The big day is finally here. And I know some people are sending me, I really don't. And there we go. At 106 on this historic election day. Folks, it is. This is the real news at 106. Yep, this is it. And we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Now, is it true you can listen at the website, depetro.com? Yes, it is. Is it true that you can watch the real news right now on X? That's another true statement. There it is. There I am. Can you watch on Facebook and YouTube? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. Folks, the dream team is back together. JR is off. He's holding a sign somewhere. The great one, Jeff Gamach, huge part. Folks, every time people compliment me, I say, don't thank me. Thank Jeff Gamach, who has just pushed us into the stratosphere. Folks, valuable component. This portion of our program, and don't forget, check out the website, depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks, and the lounge, they're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Now, on the website, depetro.com, number one, we have the online shop. You can get great Road Patrol Live merchandise. You can listen that way. Every hour of the radio show, boom, in library fashion. And we also have Where is Michelle Romano? Getting a lot of leads on that case. And we're just getting started. Charlotte Lester Perkins caught a DUI. You can read the police report. Why is the rest of the media protecting him? Lead suspect. He's out on bail for assaulting the chosen one, supposed to be following the law, keeping the peace. Hardly. We also have, notice the media also. Folks, DePetro.com, as I look at it, it's actually the opposite. So much of the media, they ignore what I consider to be consequential and real stories, such as in Scituate, this Jenna Lipsky Rutherford. We have her police report. She's town council person candidate and arrested for tearing down Trump flags in Scituate. Why am I the only one reporting on it? And then we have a lot more. It's all at the website, which is in fact depetro.com. Now, big story, road patrol. Now, if something happens later, yes, obviously, I mean something consequential. I don't mean, an accident or anything like that. If there's some kind of a police scene, we will, I'm very open, obviously. That's still what we do. As far as the election, I know I wanted to check. People have been calling me and texting me all day. What do you think? What are you hearing? That type of thing. Now, for those, and I was speaking with a friend of mine, actually college roommate, who lives in Massachusetts, and I was saying that, let me just that it is pretty lousy that let's see, it's pretty lousy in our part of the country. I was telling him that 20 years ago, Rhode Island, Massachusetts wasn't like this, and now tragically, and to our detriment, this part of the country, which is the Northeast, Rhode Island, Mass, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, basically have turned blue. And what people need to realize is people are moving here for those reasons. So it wasn't like that 20 years ago. Whether it was Massachusetts, where you had people like State Senator Scott Brown, where then, think of this, 20 years ago, Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts. And clearly Mass has gone that way. You had Republicans on the rise in Rhode Island. To our detriment, we've seen it go the other way. And that's something that just can't be ignored. So Dixville Notch, they're the first ones to vote, and it's a 3-3 tie. 6 people voted, 3 for Harris, 3 for Trump. First in the nation. So let me just skip down because I want to double check some information that someone sent me, which was, and I want to make sure, okay, in 2020, Biden won the vote 5-0. So they're the first ones to vote after midnight in New Hampshire, 3-3 tie, Trump-Harris. 4 years ago, Biden won 5-0. In 2016, Hillary won 4-2. How about that? So in 2016, Hillary 4 votes, Trump 2. In 2020, Biden 5 votes, Trump 0. In 2024, 3-3 split. Now, it is lousy, and I'm not going to argue. Listen, it is important to vote. I think it would be big in Rhode Island and Mass if President Trump received the biggest vote total, bigger than 2016, bigger than 2020. I think it'd be tremendous if President Trump received the highest highest votes of a Republican probably since President Bush in 1988, which was the kind of the gold standard. Now, that aside, this is, what does it say on your screen? Real news. We deal in reality. Harris is going to win Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I don't like it, but that's the reality. If people want to think that let's just talk about Rhode Island. If people want to think Trump actually does better in Mass than he does Rhode Island. If people want to think that President Trump could win Rhode Island, I think he'll do well. I think he's going to do well in Johnston. I think he's going to do well in Cranston. I think he's going to do well in Woonsocket. I know he's going to do well in Smithfield, North Smithfield, Lincoln, part of Cumberland, maybe. Definitely the western part. But for those that think President Trump could actually win the state, I deal with this. I've been dealing with this for 8 years. The people that think that, I have found they don't spend any time in Providence. The people that think that, they don't spend any time in Pawtucket. They don't spend any time in Central Falls. They don't spend any time in the East Bay, East Providence, Bristol, Borrington, Warren, Middletown, Portsmouth. It's just a sea of blue. Now, I'm going to use this opportunity. I voted. You should vote. Of course, who did I vote for? Folks, I also have a problem with anyone on the radio that won't tell you who they voted for. I do. I mean, you listen to whoever you want, but you have a right. I especially don't understand talk hosts who they're asking for your opinion, but they won't tell you who they voted for. To me, it's not even an option. I mean, we're seeing firsthand a disastrous administration. And we're also, I have a friend that lives out of state that said, you just vote against Harris because you loathe Governor McKee. That is true. But that's not it. I mean, she's, as we've talked about, she's not a serious person. And she was a very weak vice president. I could argue, though, both ways. If President Trump wins, we can talk about what a weak candidate she is. We can talk about how Waltz was a bad pick. You can talk about that President Trump and his team ran a very good ground game, ran a great campaign in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Michigan. They worked it. Arizona, Nevada, they zeroed in. They caught some good momentum. J.D. Vance proved to be decent. If President Trump wins, I think you could argue people trust him as far as the border, which I'm going to once again say, I don't think our local media, I know as a matter of fact, they don't cover it. They don't talk about it. When I had on the individual running against Seth Magaziner, he was thrown when I said, why does Rhode Island have to be a sanctuary state? I don't understand Republicans that feel that way. I voted for Patricia Morgan. I voted against Seth Magaziner. I can't stand him. He's weak. There's no representation. We don't have legitimate elections. Take President Trump out. I think Patricia Morgan did the best she could. She did the best she could against White House. It's tough. It's tough. He certainly had a lot of money. He lot of momentum, and he's in a very blue state. But I think she ran a very valiant campaign. She got my vote. If President Trump wins, they did a lot of things right, and putting him out there, and immigration being a big factor, but it's not covered locally. No one talks about it. Even the Republican Party doesn't talk about it. If he loses, what's it? I don't know. It's so tough if you're not in a battleground state to get a feel for how the race is going. I don't care what anyone says, and no one seems to fully. If President Trump loses, the Democrats have a lot of money and they have a big ground game, and they knock on a lot of doors. And President Trump didn't have a great final week, starting with that stupid joke. I'm still angry about that idiot at Madison Square Garden. At some point, we'll figure out and learn how that came together. Who booked him? Who thought it'd be a good idea? Terrible. Only because it just set off a bad week. And I know that Biden called Trump voters, supporters garbage and everything else. But President Trump, to me, was just riding such momentum at that point. So I believe right now we are in truly 117. We're in uncharted territory in what's going to happen over the next 12 hours, what's going to happen over the next 48 hours. I don't know. It's anyone that thinks they know. I believe, earlier I played Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee on Channel 10 with Brian Crandall. And like that guy, he can't get out of his own way. We deserve better. Sabina Matos, lieutenant governor, she's in a commercial in Pennsylvania trashing President Trump, saying that, Puerto Rican people are proud people and blah, blah, blah. Folks, I mean, to me right now, 2024, but we are just at a low point. We're at a pivotal point in the state. Massachusetts will always have Boston. And the city of Boston has just come such a huge way from the development to the seaport. By not having the Olympics, Boston has turned itself into an international destination and city. Anyone that spends time up there, it's really remarkable the amount of building and development. And I mean, it's just Massachusetts will always have Boston, even though it has Michelle Wu in the governor. But Rhode Island, I don't recall a time. Even the Chafee years weren't this bad. We're at a pivotal, desperate time. Governor McKee and Matos are they're probably, there's a reason why on this election day that those two people think, and they were 100% behind Biden, and Gabe Amo and Matos are 100% behind Harris. Governor McKee less so. But I just think we're at a really pivotal point. If President Trump doesn't win, I don't know where we go as far as the state. The only real hope that I see, talking about Rhode Island now, that could turn it around would be a Trump presidency, because they're going to make fundamental changes with the way things are done. And it's actually the polar opposite the way Governor McKee does things. Rhode Island right now, who in their right mind thinks that we're on the right path? It's just at an all-time between the bridge, and the governor and the companies now want to leave, and no one will say out loud what the problems are with education, and the unions and the special interests are just in such a position of power right now, where they're treated as captains of industry and business leaders. It's Governor McKee. It's so the wrong person at the wrong time. It just is. And so if Harris wins, we're really in trouble. If Harris wins, if Harris and Walz win, I think anyone that actually has an option to leave, I think that's when you really start to look at your options. Maybe you decide to pull a Hasbro. Hasbro's like, we've seen enough. We can't take any more of this. It's too demoralizing. I think everyone just feels that, and you're not wrong, that we deserve better. But President Trump, has the media been against President Trump? 100%. Yes, no doubt. I don't want people to think in all these states that there's shenanigans, so to speak, with the voting. Governor DeSantis turned around voting in Florida. Governor Youngkin turned around voting procedures in the state of Virginia. The governor and secretary of state in Georgia are Republicans, and they have straightened that out. Rhode Island is an outlier. Rhode Island has one of the worst, if not the worst, but one of the worst voting systems in the entire country. I want to repeat again, we don't have legitimate elections. Now, I'm not saying when it comes to a mayoral race, Woonsocket's going to elect a mayor today or tonight. Warwick's going to elect a mayor. Cranston, Pawtucket. I think those are, by and large, legit, but there's always room. There's too many of these mail ballots. And now you're seeing lines around the block. And I know for a fact that they don't have the system down. So there are people that submitted a mail ballot, then they're voting early. They already voted early. And then they're going to go today and vote. And there's no foolproof system to stop them from doing that. But here's the part. I wish people would realize it's not about Trump-Harris. It's about who's making the decisions here. And the people that are in charge, Governor McKee and Matos, they don't want to change it. because Governor McKee is counting on that system to be in place in order to win the primary and win re-election in 2 years. And by all accounts, he is planning on running again in 2 years. But here's the thing, as bad as it is, and it's bad, between the bridge, you're looking at potentially a $1 billion deficit. You have a sitting governor that won't sit and answer questions from the FBI and his own state police force. The guy is, Governor McKee is, by all accounts, he also misled the media. He lied to the media. He is not trustworthy. He's not up for it. It never occurred to him that he shouldn't have a lobbyist giving him legal advice not to cooperate with the Attorney General, the FBI, and his own state police. It never occurred to him that he shouldn't have a lobbyist giving him that advice. It never occurred to him that he should pay an attorney for that. That's how deficient he is. His radar doesn't even go off. The guy he doesn't belong there. And if you take his pals down the dial out of the mix, he would be, up the creek without a paddle. But they continue to provide a safe haven for him. As I said, I played Magritte on with Brian Crandall on NBC 10, and McKee started getting annoyed with him. Like, well, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know we were going to be talking about that. Hey, listen, what is this? See, what does that come down to? He's used to send the talking points. Here's the questions to ask me. He's used to that. Now, I give credit to Brian Crandall. He didn't follow the script. I thought that was very telling. McKee, well, I wasn't prepared to talk about this. I thought we sent over the questions. Like, what is this? That's what he's saying. So what's going to happen nationally? The Trump people have not run a perfect campaign. They haven't. If he wins, it's close. The media doesn't like that it's close. Who knows where this is going to go? There's so much at stake, folks, because there's a lot at stake. What they've done in Rhode Island, the Democrat Party, they want to do nationwide. They do. Which is and Cicilline did it in Providence. You supplement the voters with new arrivals that will never question what you're doing. That's what they want to do. That's what they've done in Providence. That's what they've done in Rhode Island. And in Rhode Island, as I've talked about, it's, for 8 years, Nellie Gorbea, or after 16, Nellie Gorbea sabotaged the voter rolls. And this new Secretary of State Amori, he restored the birthdays. But no one really talks about the damage done during that time. No, I believe the only way that Rhode Island, and I really mean this, could turn around would be a Trump-Vance presidency where they would start to get someone like a McKee and Matos, get them in line. And start to as I was speaking to someone yesterday, it doesn't make sense that every state has elections differently. I mean, think about that. Does that make sense to anybody? And as I've talked about, what I find disappointing is and I've said this consistently, I don't believe the Rhode Island Republican Party does enough to try to change how we do elections. And so I'm also dismayed. Look at how, if you haven't voted yet, vote yes on question 1. We need to rework the Constitution of the state for several reasons. The Rhode Island Constitution, as I have stated, such as the inability to do DUI checkpoints. Of course, people like Magritte and the Den of Thieves on Smith Hill, of course, they don't want a constitutional convention because they don't want to change anything. But at some point, when the federal money is drying up, you can't keep building new police stations. Economic development can't be, we're going to build a new school. That's not economic development. No, that's the taxpayers paying for it. Economic development can't be, we're going to build a new police station. We're going to build a new school. We're going to constantly keep having the roads under construction. That's not economic development. That's all taxpayer funded. To quote Gina Raimondo, do you see cranes in the sky? Do you see anyone building anything? As someone that rides around Providence every night, I see a lot of empty lots. Nope. And the bridge, think of that. They still don't have it down. You know what? Here's the thing. Governor McKee is Mac Jones. Governor McKee said it best when he said he thought President Biden was the best president of his lifetime. It speaks volumes, folks. First of all, no one runs a perfect campaign. What I think we're going to find out, and this is really important, and let me just say this about the national election. There are people that despise President Trump. There are. And maybe you know them, maybe you don't. But there are people out there. I mean, and there are Republicans out there. They hate him. So what I'm anxious, and I think we're going to find out, you have moderate, I think a lot of it could be male as well, but definitely women voters, female voters. We're going to find out. The women that hate Trump, are they actually going to show up and vote for Harris? Or are they going to stay home? I find a lot of the coverage that I've seen, and I said this to Donna Perry, a lot of the coverage, the pollsters and a lot of the TV pundits seem to believe that the person's going to vote for someone. That's not the case. There's a lot of people that are not going to vote. So what I'm anxious to, and I don't think, I'm sick of Liz Cheney. And I don't think she's moving the needle in any way. I think she's ineffective. Maybe there are people, because of her, they're going to vote a certain way. But what I'm anxious to find out, and we're going to find out, let's just say there are women that are Republicans, but they hate Trump. And they like DeSantis. And they liked Nikki Haley. But they hate him. And everyone, I think, knows people that hate him. Are they going to just be disgusted and therefore not go and vote? Or are they actually going to vote for Harris? And folks, again, the only thing that matters, whether people like it or not, is what's going to happen in the battleground states. President Trump needs to win Pennsylvania. President Trump needs to win Georgia, North Carolina. And it'll be big if he could win Wisconsin or Michigan. It's so... He's been up in Arizona. He's been up in Nevada. I don't know. He does underperform. I think it's interesting, and it was someone, I forget who said it, but in 2016, for instance, there were people that just despised Hillary, and they went and voted against her. And then in 2020, there were people that hated President Trump, and they voted against him. So I think there's definitely a motivated base, and Republicans have, no question, voted early. But the people that are out there, the true independent voters, the true undecided voters, the true moderate Dems that could vote either way, and some of the moderate Republicans or the conservative, whatever, but are they actually going to pull the lever for Harris? Now, personally, I couldn't do that. I don't hate Harris. I just think she'd be a lousy president. I can't vote for her. I can't support her. I'll give you, and I'll put I could never vote for Dan McKee. Never. I don't care who's running against him. I would vote for that person. But there are some people who wouldn't vote. So if President Trump loses, it's possible people are going to say maybe he should have picked Nikki Haley. I don't know. I think if Nikki Haley or DeSantis were the candidate, would they have this type of opposition? No, but they also wouldn't have the groundswell of support that President Trump has enjoyed. But I'm telling you, here in a sanctuary state in the Northeast, a state that implements all of the Biden policies, I don't believe we could. I don't know what would happen 4 more years if it was President Harris and Vice President Walz. I mean, Governor McKee has basically maneuvered the state into a complete welfare state that is completely reliant on federal aid. It's more than clear. Rhode Island can't stand on its own in any way. And the only thing I believe now that could shape it up would be if, in fact, it was a Trump administration that cut them off with a lot of these things and forced people to make hard decisions. Should Rhode Island have a $14 billion budget? Of course not. Could you get rid of 2,000 state workers in a heartbeat? Nobody would skip a beat. Do you need all these? Of course not. It's a joke. The state is being run into the ground by a doofus that wouldn't even sit with the FBI and his own state police force. So the next 12 to 24, I don't know when they're going to announce a winner. It's really going to determine a lot, because if Harris Walz wins, I believe the exodus in the Northeast is going to once again really step up. For all the illegals that are coming in, the open border at our southern border, guess what? The border is also open. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, to flee to other states. The Carolinas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Texas. I think you're going to see more people say, I can't take it anymore. I'm out of here. This is crazy. This is no way to live. And they're not wrong. Folks, this portion of the program is, let's talk about Kids Club on the Pike. They'll host a birthday party for youth. They do before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. Now look for them on Facebook. They are right on Plainfield Pike, which is the Cranston-Johnston line. Kids Club on the Pike. This is the spot to have, whether it's a youth team banquet or just a birthday party, or you want to celebrate your child's birthday or grandchild. Okay, if they're going to come into your house, they're going to want to run around. They're going to want to be outside. You're going to have to have preparations. You're going to have to do cleanup, or you could just book it at Kids Club on the Pike, which is designed and perfect. They have a dance room. They have a video room. They have an Xbox room. They have an old-fashioned diner. They have a room for 2-year-olds. Kids Club on the Pike. Forget about Dave & Buster's. It's not safe to go to the mall. Forget about Chuck E. Cheese. Every kid leaves there with germs. Kids Club on the Pike. They're going to love it. Well, folks, good afternoon on this historic election day. And let me also remind you, who knows where this is going to, where this is going to go. Stop it and see my friend George at Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Post Road in Warwick, right off of Route 37. We have them on all the time, right down from Greg's, right near O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Remember, who knows what type of hell could break loose here. Protect yourself, protect your business. Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. If we're going to be a sanctuary state, you have a right to defend your home, your business, your family. Stop in and see George, full firearm and ammo at Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Well, folks, good afternoon. The weather is great. I think turnout is pretty decent. Like many of you, I voted early. I wish we had better choices. I wish we were in a better position to make a difference. I think it is kind of odd and frustrating that whether people realize it, and a lot of people don't, or you want to sit back, we really have to sit back and we have to watch as there are 7 states that are going to decide this election, whether people want to realize that or not. But as I've talked about, it really seems to be Pennsylvania. Remember in 2000, Tim Russert held up his little whiteboard, Florida, 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 saying Florida would decide the election. And he was right. President Bush, Governor Bush at the time against Vice President Al Gore, the Hanging Chads, and Florida did decide the election. Then you had Ohio in 2004 was deciding the election. Well, in 2024, the states to watch seemingly, if President Trump can win Pennsylvania, it's huge. The states to watch, and there's counties to watch in these states. It's actually very fascinating. But Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and that's it. That's it. So now, do you know there are counties in Wisconsin that Trump won by 500 votes or even less, 100 votes. And then 4 years ago, Biden won by 100 votes. Those are pivotal counties that will tell you the direction of where things are going. So when people wonder why are those battleground states, it's because it could go either way. Michigan, Biden won Michigan. Biden won Pennsylvania. Harris may not win those states. As we've talked about, Michigan has a huge, huge Palestinian population, Dearborn. And also, Harris has had trouble with Jewish voters in the state of Michigan. Harris has trouble with Jewish voters in the state of Pennsylvania. But there's problems with Jewish voters in the Democrat Party, which is why she didn't choose the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. If Harris loses, they're going to say they should have kept Biden. They're going to say she should have kept Josh Shapiro or should have chose him to be her running mate. They're going to say she should have done interviews earlier. Maybe they're going to say she should have pulled Biden out to campaign. Remember, in 2000, Al Gore did not have President Clinton campaign for him anywhere, including Arkansas, because of the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Clinton maybe could have helped Gore in Arkansas. And Al Gore didn't even win Tennessee. So if Harris loses, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame game. And again, it's so difficult to try to figure out. Keep in mind, in 2020, Biden won Georgia by basically 11,000 votes. So that sounds like a lot, and it is a decent amount, but it's not, 100,000 votes. 11,000 votes could certainly go and be swayed, or you could register more people. So it could certainly go a lot of different ways. But I don't know. I mean, tonight we're going to really have to watch as the states start to get called. Could President Trump actually win Wisconsin? It'd be huge if he wins Wisconsin. If President Trump could win Wisconsin, if President Trump could win Pennsylvania, if he could win Michigan. Now, again, though, could he win Georgia? I don't, could he win North Carolina? He spent a lot of time in North Carolina the past couple of days. Remember, I know some people listening or watching saying, I don't believe any of those polls. Now, I've told you, the people that do believe the polls are the campaigns, because that determines where they're campaigning. The Trump campaign, they saw something in North Carolina that they wanted to shore up, and that's why they had him there doing 3 stops. And then they saw something, maybe some movement in Pennsylvania, and that's why they sent him there. Harris people, they saw something in Michigan, where then they sent her to Michigan. So you can dismiss the polls. As I've told you, the campaigns, you can't win a campaign unless you have good internal polling, because then you can, if you're comfortably ahead, you can start to pull resources from an area and put them somewhere else. So if President Trump loses, you can point at Madison Square Garden, that idiot comedian who I forever hate. There's several things. But if Harris loses, you could blame Biden. You could blame the process. You could blame Waltz turned out to be a disastrous pick for her. Where's he been? You don't see any coverage of that guy anywhere. He's not doing any interviews. They don't put him out anywhere. So would it help her on Saturday Night Live? No, because the people that watch that predominantly are voting for her anyway. Does Liz Cheney really help Harris? I don't think so. What I think it comes down to this. Here's what I really believe this is going to be focused on. The women that are either independent voters or Republicans, the independent, the moderate Dems, the Republican women that don't like Trump. I think it's going to be a simple question. Do they actually go out and vote for Harris, or do they not vote? That's what I think we're going to find out over the next 12 hours. And there's a big difference. I think something else, though. If I want to argue that President Trump is going to win, 87% of the country feel that we're on the wrong path. Now, what does that mean, though? The wrong path can mean different things for different people. The wrong path for someone could mean they don't like the tone of what's going on. So they don't like all the back and forth with Trump and Biden. Or the wrong path could be all the illegals coming in, unsecured borders, crime, the economy. That's a question that needs, I think, to be answered. As I've told you, I believe, locally, I don't think, and I've said this before, I'm going to repeat it. The press doesn't do any stories on how Rhode Island has been sadly turned into a sanctuary state. Nothing. Can you imagine? Look at the full court press on McKee regarding this ILO contract and investigation. All of the media, right? 10, 12, the Globe, the Journal, all pummeling him. Questions about that probe. Can you imagine if the local media was peppering him with questions on the state being a sanctuary state and giving out driving privileges and setting up and giving grants and educating all these children and the hundreds of millions that it cost? So it would be a different state. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Remember, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Watson Materials is a landscape supply center. Call them, request a quote, 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. Watson Materials. Largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, located 1500 South County Trail in EG. Again, call, request a quote with Watson Materials. I share their Facebook page. It's a work of art. 401-885-0600 for Watson Materials, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone, sand, outdoor features, Watson Materials. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, it's election day. I believe the campaigns are kind of burnt out. I also believe a lot of people voted early, and I think that makes a difference. As far as people starting to claim fraud, let's wait until we see how everything plays out. Why don't we wait before people start screaming that the election was rigged and blah blah blah. Let's wait and see how this thing plays out. Now, who am I going to watch? How am I going to receive my coverage? Well, obviously, I'm going to watch Fox News. And I like a lot of the coverage on CNN. I like John King. I like that Scott Jennings. I like Mark Lauder. I don't like some of the people they have. I think Jake Tapper's going over the top. I don't like Vance Jones. There's without question, there is strong media bias. I'm not going to watch ABC. You can tell. Rachel Scott, ABC, they're the national media, the mainstream, they're fearful of a Trump presidency. They are. And it's impossible for them to put that aside. So, but it caution you, it's going to come down to some of those counties. If I don't, there's been so much talk and analysis. As I've said, I almost feel at this point, it's kind of like the Super Bowl where you just get tired of it and then you want to just see the game. So I'll be curious to see some of the election results coming in. I want to repeat, I don't think Harris is strong. I don't think she's a strong candidate. I think it's tough to decipher how people are voting with some of the national media because they're so biased. Um, Forget about NBC News. I can't. I think that Kristen Welker's weak. I'm not going to waste my time with MSNBC. I mean, unless it's a Trump blowout, maybe I put on MSNBC to just enjoy watching them have meltdowns. But something like this, I want to see where the map is going to break out, and I'll flip back and forth between Fox and CNN. Hey, keep in mind, it was 4 years ago that Fox called Arizona for Biden. I don't think anyone's going to do that this time. And then, folks, we'll see what happens, how people react to it. I don't know what to think actually, because I think the people on the left, if President Trump wins, I think some people just lose their mind. Some people will collectively lose their mind. If he loses, there are some people that feel it's inevitable. You got to, I mean, I think if you want to be objective, I think both sides, I think there's more confidence on the Trump side. I think a lot of the Trump voters think it's inevitable that he's going to win. And I'm not convinced the Harris people think that. I'm not. I think a lot of the coverage is wishful thinking on behalf of a lot of the Democrats and the media. And this week, it is tough because they for the final week, they really amped it up with the anti-Trump coverage. But I don't know how much of that makes a difference. If there's someone today, right now, who's still undecided, does that person even go and vote? I don't. How can you still be undecided? I don't understand that. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Dreammaker Bath or Kitchen. Call them today, 401-433-7272. Dreammaker, their beautiful design center. It's right in Warwick. If you're listening or watching right now on this election day, and maybe you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or bathroom, Dreammaker. They're right down from Crown Plaza, right near Kochai. Dreammaker, one-stop shop. They take you from concept to completion. Remember, respect, integrity, customer focus. It's Dreammaker, enhancing lives, improving homes. And remember, they are going to have a booth at the home show coming up next weekend at the Rhode Island Convention Center. It's Dreammaker. Now, let me check out some of the latest headlines. As I've said, let's see. Drudge Report. They've really turned on President Trump. I've been a big Drudge fan. I've been a big fan since 98 when I even used to interview Matt Drudge. I've met Matt Drudge, and he's really turned on President Trump. America's biggest election. Final prediction, 74% chance Dems take House. I don't believe that. 72% chance Republicans flip the Senate. That I think is possible. Now, Zogby, Harris +3. A record 79 million have already voted. That's huge. Other than that, I'm not sure. The people that are counting him out, I think they've been counting him out for quite some time. So I believe the most important thing going forward, meaning tonight, is to try to get accurate information. And folks, again, whether people realize it or not. Now, let me be very clear. I don't believe, Woonsocket, someone's going to be elected mayor of Woonsocket. We're going to see the mayor of Pawtucket seems like he's going to be reelected. The mayor of Cranston, Mayor Hopkins, it certainly seems he's going to be reelected. The Warwick mayor, Picozzi, there's definitely some shenanigans in Warwick, and they're definitely trying to pull the special interest are definitely attempting to try to pull some voting maneuvers in the city of Warwick. That one I'm not so sure about. He's an independent. So, I mean, I think he's got a lot of support, the mayor of Warwick, but I don't know. Patricia Morgan, voter fraud alert in Portsmouth. My campaign has received disturbing reports of official ballots being used to mislead voters in Portsmouth. Distributing official Rhode Island ballots that are defaced. The ballots have Democrats pre-selected. I don't know what to make of a lot of this stuff. I don't know if these are allegations. I don't know if they are just encouraging people. So it's tough, folks. Let's see. Tim White, no surprise. There's a rush of voters when polls open at 7 a.m. 27,000 people voting in the first hour. 10 to 11, close second with 24,000. Poll workers expect a post-work rush. So we have that going on. Eli Sherman of Channel 12, as of 1 o'clock, 358,000 people had cast ballots in Rhode Island. That's nearly 7% of the total vote total in 2020. I don't I don't know how much of that is going to I don't know how much of that is going to play out. I also want to just mention, folks, very quickly, and Patricia Morgan saying voter fraud alert. I'm very skeptical of some of this stuff. See, if you remember 2 years ago, you had Governor McKee at a senior center, and he's handing a woman, here's who you vote for, and you white out your opponent. So there could be someone outside handing that to voters to bring inside. That doesn't mean it's a ballot. Now, again, you're not supposed to be doing that, but that doesn't mean it's voter fraud alert. So, and I know there's always going to be allegations of things. A lot of it is just, I think it's incompetence at the polls. I want to just make mention of where I think the local media lets down people with news coverage. And it's way off topic at 1:55 in this election day. But there is coverage of, look at these students and parents in these groups. They're rallying in Providence that they need 10 million more for the school department and, to save sports and blah, blah, blah. Folks, what is so disingenuous is the Providence finances, these groups that go out and the students that go out and the parents, they are used as pawns because of the way it's for another time, but the way the Providence school system is set up is 50% of the schools are at 50% of occupancy. They need to close half of the schools. You don't need all those schools in Providence. You don't need all that staff in Providence. What I find most pathetic is the test results come out in the city of Providence. And all the kids, by the way, want to go to charter schools. The test results come out, and 5% of the students are proficient in math. And there's no protest, and there's nothing. And suddenly, the spending is out of control, and the spending's flying all over the place. And when then they demand we need 10 million more from the mayor, and when they're not given that, they say we're going to have to cut sports if we don't get the money. And they get all these students and parents out to protest. And it's all a charade, because what it's actually built around is it's the power of the teachers union. And I know it's a longer conversation. So I'm anxious to see how the vote totals go locally, like many other people. And I mean, at the State House, there are some good candidates. There are some elections. We definitely need some ballots. I want to once again say, I think the only way that the state could be straightened out with the McKee-Matos debacle that we're living through right now would be a Trump win. A Trump win, a Trump administration would start to tell some of these rogue states like Rhode Island and Massachusetts, you got to get with the program. And you can't run sanctuary states, and you can't run sanctuary cities. And we're not going to fund all this illegal activity. And they would tell someone like McKee, you're not getting the money for the bridge, if you continue to have driver's licenses, if you continue to run sanctuary states, if you continue to be a magnet to have illegals coming in here. So I think the future of the state is really at stake, because if Harris wins, they're just going to continue to flood the state and treat it as a welfare state, and with all this federal spending. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Remember, for all your propane needs, call Propane Plus today, 401-885-4209, 508-252-3359. Propane Plus, heating and cooling. Look for them online, residential, commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. Well, folks, good afternoon on this election day. If you're listening on the radio, coming up, you are going to hear the 2 o'clock news. I don't know. We're going to wait and see on Road Patrol. Admittedly, this is a remarkable election, and a lot of questions are going to get answered in the next, I believe, 12 to 24 hours, maybe longer. This could turn into election week in some of these states with some of the counting and the ballots and the mail ballots, and who knows? I don't know. It is an unknown right now. But I do encourage you to go out and vote yes on question 1 and vote against the status quo. Don't vote for Gabe Amo. Don't vote for some of these people. They don't deserve your vote. Don't vote for Harris. We have to have change. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. We'll find out later. We'll make a decision on Road Patrol Live. Folks, remember, visit the website, DePietro.com. If you're listening on the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. We're back on the radio tomorrow at 11. We'll see. We could be back. But again, stay safe and go out and vote on this election day.